Hey guys, what's going on? So in this video, we'll be learning about decorators. Now, decorators by definitions are wrappers to a function, or more precisely, you can say that they take functions as an argument and extend that function's behavior without explicitly modifying it. Now, in Python, decorators can be classes or functions, but we will focus on functions as decorators since it is the most commonly used form. But before moving on, let me tell you that this video requires an extensive knowledge of closures. Now, I have created a video on closures, so if you haven't watched it earlier, make sure to watch that video first. I'll give a link to that in the description below, or you can click on the card which appears at the top right corner. Okay, now to understand why do we use decorators, let's cover a case when a function is passed as an argument to another function in a nested form. Cool, so let's go ahead and do that. So let me create a function, say outer, and we have another function nested inside called inner, and inside let me print I am inside, and let's return that inner function object. Now come outside and let's create another function because I told you earlier that we are going to pass function as an argument. So let's create another function, say display, and which will do nothing but it will just display hello. And let's go ahead and run the outer function first. So in order to run outer function, what you can do is you can create a variable, say func, which will run the outer function. Now notice that if I go ahead and click on run, it won't print me anything. Reason, this inner function is waiting to be executed. We haven't passed the parentheses. Now if I pass the parentheses, you notice that it will print me I am inside. Now in this video and decorator itself, we don't make use of the parentheses. Let's remove that. And if you want to run the outer function, you have to explicitly come and add the parentheses. Cool. Now if I go ahead and run this, you notice it will print me I am inside. Very well. All right. So if I want to pass the display function as an argument to outer function, what I can do is I can give an argument to outer function, say f, and inside the outer function, we can pass the name of the display function, which is display. And if I go ahead and run it, it will successfully print I am inside without any error. Now, notice that we haven't executed the display function yet. In order to execute this display function, we have to go inside the inner function and we have to access the function that we passed in earlier. Now we can access this due to the definition of closures. Now if I do that, I can successfully execute and it will now print I am inside and hello. Now let me go ahead and run this. There you go. Okay, now let me rewrite this to a form which will show more brevity. So let me go ahead and type something like display equals to outer, and we'll pass the display function. And now notice that display is actually a variable and this is a function. Now if I go ahead and run display, this would still print me the same answer. There you go. Now let's talk about decorators. Now notice that at this point we have to write the entire thing to make this function run, or you can say display function run inside the outer function, which subsequently runs inside the inner function. Well, we can completely omit this line of code, and we can do that by a simple syntactic sugar called decorators. Now decorators are mentioned by an at, and you write the wrapper function's name. Now notice that we pass the display function inside inner function, which is inside outer function. Now this outer function will act as a wrapper. Let me go ahead and write that over here. This is basically a decorator. Now outer is a name of that wrapper, and we have successfully decorated this display function. Let me clear the screen. You will notice that now instead of printing hello, it will print I am inside and hello. Let me go ahead and print I am about to leave. You notice that you can extend the functionality of display. Now that was all about decorators. Now decorators, let me revisit. Instead of typing entire code like this equals to outer of, then passing the display and then coming again and calling this display again, what you can do is you can completely remove this, add a decorator for the outer wrapper function, and you can completely call the display function, which would have extended the behavior to not only just print hello, but also to print whatever we did inside. Okay, now I can also do a multiple times. Let me go ahead and do that. And if I go ahead and run this, you would still see that it works. Cool. Okay, let me go ahead and remove them. All right, and let me clear the screen. All right, now let's talk about returning the values from the decorated function. Now, decorated function over here is this f over here. And let me go ahead and remove this print. All right, and let me add, say, return hello instead of this print hello. Now, if I go ahead and run this, you notice that it will only print I am inside, and f doesn't execute anything because it's actually returning a value which is not being captured. And let us actually capture it over here, say with a variable x, and let me print that x value. Now you would still notice that it will print nothing. Can you guess why? Yes, you got it right. Now this function f over here is actually returning something, and we are not returning that value. Now if you want to return the value, what you can do is you can put a return over there, and this time it will come inside in a function, print I am inside, and will return the value from display function, which is actually hello, and this will get caught inside x, and we can print hello over here. So let me run this. Now you can see it got successfully printed. Cool. Now let me take this all back. All right, now that we talked about returning the values from a decorated function, now let's talk about how you can pass arguments to the decorated functions. Now you can see we haven't passed the arguments to display function over here, and we can actually pass an argument, say a message, and let's actually make use of an f string which will print the message value. And if I go ahead and run this by simply saying display message, say hello world, for instance, it will definitely throw me an error because it's not expecting an argument, but one was given. Okay, so how would you pass in the arguments to the function inside over here? It's pretty easy. All you have to do is you have to revisit a concept that we learned way earlier. Remember that we learned something called as the star args and star quarks in the functions? Well, if you haven't watched that functions video, I can give you a link to that as well in the description below. Also, you can click on the card which appears at the top right corner. It's a really great video about functions. I have told you about the star args and star quarks, where we can use it to pass an uncertain number of positional and keyword arguments. Well, we can make use of that over here as well. Now, we have passed a simple message, but inner function doesn't know how many values would be getting passed in because we are just passing the name of that function over here, right? Now, to solve this, what you can do is we can pass the star args inside, and also here as well we'll pass the star args. Now if I go ahead and run, you notice that it will print successfully. Now the newcomers might think, okay, well what it's doing is just mapping the message with this star args as a single variable. Well, if I go ahead and type multiple arguments, say message, message 2, message 3, and let me go ahead and print all of them as well, message 2, message 3, and let me pass like hello world, world 2, world 3. Now you notice that all these parameters that we passed will be mapped into this argument. So if I go ahead and run this, you would see that it got successfully passed in and it got displayed. Now that's how you pass arguments inside the decorated functions. Now if you wanted to pass the keyword arguments, you could have done that by typing quarks, star quarks. Similarly, you could also pass star quarks over here. All right, now it's recommended that you use both of them together. So if I go ahead and do not pass these, let me delete all these, and let me delete all these as well, and let me run it, it would still work. All right, so it is recommended that you put these as a safety measure. Now before we leave, let's talk about a concept where we can actually pass argument to the decorator as well. So as you can see the outer over here, yeah, we can pass an argument to this as well. Now at this point, let me tell you that we have covered a lot of topics right now, and it might be really difficult for you to sink in and grasp certain concepts. So if you don't understand anything, feel free to rewind back and watch the video again, and make sure to comment in the comment box, and I will be definitely answering to your questions and queries. Cool. Now let me actually teach you about the last concept where you can actually pass an argument to the decorator as well. To show you more clearly, what I can do is I will add one more function over this outer function. So let me remove this wrapper from here, and let me add another function, say define outer of outer maybe, and let me nest these two inside. Now notice that this return inner is of this outer function. Now if you want to run this outer function, we have to return the outer function as well. Now if in case if you didn't understand, we actually wrapped this outer function with another function called outer of outer, and to make outer run we are returning the outer function object, and to make inner run we are creating the inner object. Cool. Now over here, this is the wrapper. Now instead of typing outer, we have to type outer of outer. All right, now we have to pass, as I told, an argument. So let's pass an argument, say hi. Now over here we don't have anything to receive that argument, right? So let's go ahead and receive that argument by typing something like outer arg. And if I go ahead and run this should actually run the program perfectly. Cool. Now as per the property of closures, we can access the outer argument anywhere inside the outer of outer function. Now let me go ahead and print all this via f string, and let me print that, say outer arg, and let me copy this and print it over here as well. Now if I go ahead and run this should successfully print hi at the end. Great. Now you might have understood what exactly or how to pass the arguments inside a decorator. Alright guys, that's all for this video. I hope you understood the decorator concept and you really enjoyed this video. Now I believe that you must put in a little bit of more effort to understand what exactly a decorator is, because you need to put in a lot of practice to understand the workflow and the ways through which the decorator arguments are passed especially, and what exactly do we use the decorator for. And if you really enjoyed this video, make sure to support us by hitting the thumbs up button or subscribing to our channel. You can also support us by spreading the words to others who really want to learn more about Python. And of course, feedbacks are welcome. That's all for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.